Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. We're just giving a few minutes for a few more people to join us. So if just hang out with us for another minute or two, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And then people can just jump in. But what you can do, we are going to post the workbook in the chat. So keep your eye open for that. The workbook is what you're going to use to conduct your activities throughout the session this evening and on Thursday. So please keep an eye open for that in the chat. We will post it a few times. But again, that is what you're going to use. And it is actually, you can work in the workbook on your computer. So it's either printable or you can use your computer to actually walk through the workbook. So keep an eye open for that. All right, I see the link has posted for the workbook. And I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We have quite a few people who have joined us, so let's get started. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I am excited to be here. I know many of you, so thank you for supporting this journey. It has been a fun one, to say the least, and one that I've been kind of secretly doing. After I left corporate, I have been in this space where I created my own methodology around the corporate work I was doing, which is called organizational change management. And so you are now going to see the methodology that I've been working on. We're doing it through the Reflect, Reset, and Rise experience, which is a look at 2025, a way to kind of dig deep and look at what 2025 was for you, and then what 2026 will be. Based on what you have worked out in your mind, you want your 2026 to be. So it's not an affirmation. This is actual work where we are going to do that deep dive and move forward, look ahead, and rise into 2026. And so I am going to introduce our team. As I said, my name is Janine Lee Kwai. I am a change strategist, and I'm the founder of the Do It Change method. I've been working in this space for over 10 years, and I identified a gap in the space around emotional change, right? And so it has been, for me, quite exciting to be able to venture in this space and now be able to share it with you. And in addition to me, you have Arnetta Cameron. So I am now a certified executive coach, and Arnetta was in the certification course with me. And we hit it off. We were actually just partners, random. Some would say fate. And both of us work in organizational change management. And so she joined with me, and we have been on this journey together. And so this is Arnetta. She's going to go ahead and introduce herself about all the wonderful work she's been doing in this space.
Hey everyone, I'm Arnetta Cameron. I too, like Janine, have been in the change management space for quite a few years. It's super exciting to partner with her on the Do It Change method because she has completed the gap between processes and people in change management. So super excited about that. And I'm looking forward to our session today.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Monique Johnson Dilworth, and I'm here on behalf or collaborating with both Janine and Arnetta, showing you guys how we can utilize AI in our reflection exercises, let alone just kind of giving you guys a different view, because I know AI is something that's very hot right now that I'm sure a lot of you all have heard or just wondering or might be confused. So it's going to be a lot of fun with this interactive workshop, especially as Janine and both Arnetta will be guiding you through different guided activities. And at the end, we're going to wrap it all up with AI so you guys can see how you can utilize that as a great tool. So looking forward to that. And with that said, Janine, I'm going to hand it over back to you.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Again, I thank you guys for being here, for being intentional coming tonight. So I made a joke, it's 2 sessions in the earlier session. Some of you may have been drawn into tonight by my wonderful husband, who made a very active effort to support this initiative and really allow this to be an opportunity to share with family and friends as our first run, because this is something that we are moving forward with into 2026. So lots of workshops coming down the pipeline. Some of you may have heard that I am writing a book. It is currently with the publishers, and I'm looking for a February 2nd launch date. And so while there's so much that I'm doing, you did not have to be here. So I really appreciate you joining tonight. And I ask you to, again, be intentional, challenge yourself, right, to move beyond surface level. So every year there are, oh my gosh, I want my New Year's resolution. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. This is way deeper than that. And so we really want you to dive deep, think about what 2025 brought and what 2026 could look ahead for you and the possibilities. So on the next, we're going to jump into housekeeping. So the housekeeping, cameras are highly encouraged, right? So thank you for those who are able to join on camera. There is a raise your hand icon. So some of you have used Zoom before, and you can see that there is a raise your hand icon. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to use that. Or you can put your questions in the chat, because the chat is being monitored as well. And really, reflection over perfection. This is not about perfection at all. As we get into it, you'll realize that the year, it brings a lot of highs and lows. This is not about judgment or shame. There are no right or wrong answers. It's just the more honest you are with yourself, the more effective this is going to be, and the more you'll get out of it. Privacy, what is here, what is shared here stays here. So while we're not as exciting as Vegas, I can promise you that we absolutely stand by that. So what you share here, it'll stay in this room, and we ask you to be open, right? So you may see things that you didn't notice before, and that's what we're hoping for. And I also think that AI is going to help you really uncover some of those things even further. All right, and so what you're going to gain from this experience, sharper understanding again of what your 2025 actually looked like. I put actually in italicized because oftentimes we just brush through, oh, this happened, this big thing happened, and then we just keep moving. And so this is going to be a true look back on 2025. And then this is going to take you into the insights, into moments that shaped your mindset. So what was your mindset in 2025? What was your energy? What direction did you come into 2025 with, right? And of course, lessons learned from that. And so the awareness of the patterns that helped you, and of course, the other side of that, the ones that got you stuck. So again, as I told you, this is really a holistic view of 2025. And then a grounded sense of how you've been showing up. This is key. Because again, oftentimes we overlook these things. We wonder why certain things are happening or how they're happening. And we have to take a look of how have I been showing up and what impact has that had. And then the most exciting part about this for me is the look ahead, right? So every year, we know on the 31st of January, we get super excited because we know that the following year is going to bring something better than the last year, right? So let's make sure that that happens. And we're going to choose our posture for how we want to enter 2026. And we're going to learn ways to keep that momentum flowing throughout the entire year. Right, so it is a two-part. So day one is discover and own. We're going to get into exactly what discover and own is in a minute. Part one, discover your year, 2025. Part two, own your posture and perspective. That's 2026. Part three is going to be, again, incorporating that AI for reflection and insight. And then we're just going to close with choosing your 2026 posture. So out of today, you're going to walk away with that. What is my posture going into 2026? Day two is on Thursday, and I didn't mention this, but there are 2 times, right? 12 and 7. So we had our first session today. This is our second session, and it's going to run that same format. The links, you will have received it in Eventbrite. So there's one link for Tuesday, and there's a separate link for Thursday. That link, if you can't make the 7 p.m., please feel free to jump in the 12. Or vice versa, right? So whichever you're available for, it's the same link. You don't need to do anything. You could just jump on in and you have all the tools and resources that you need to join us. But that's going to be the second part, the implement and transform. And now what we're going to do is look into what is the Do It Change method. So I'm talking about it, but it's like, what exactly is it? So let's go. The intro to it, right, is taking a look at 2 phases. So what we find often in change management, and let me just take a step back. Change management is an industry where corporations spend billions of dollars annually. Why? Because they don't want to lose money. And the way for a change to move forward is through your people, right? And so there is an entire profession, obviously I'm part of that, Arnett is part of that profession, that we work with organizations in order to bring their people along the change. So right now, of course, we have digital transformations, lots going on, right? And all of these transformations, the team has to come together and support this change in order for it to be effective. And so it's important we have to now take that, because in our personal lives, if there's a plan for corporations, if companies are spending so much money, why then do we not have something to hold on to from an individual perspective? And so that's where this was born. And what we found as individuals, some people are really good at planning, right? So some people are like, oh, they had this massive plan. Nobody could touch them on this plan, right? But what's missing is their ability now to act. And then we have people on the other side of that, which they can act, they can move, they can execute, but what are they executing? And so there is a gap that exists because, again, most people are either good in A or good in B and don't really know how to pull those two together. And so that's what the Do It method does. It helps walk us through both phases, right? So discover and own, those are our planning stages. And then we move into the action phases. And so specifically, each phase, discover, uncover what's really going on beneath the surface and understand your current reality without distortion. That's a key caveat, without distortion, right? Because again, we put on many different lenses when we look at, so whether it's hindsight, bias, whatever that is, or what we would have liked, right, our year to have looked like, or whatever posture we would have liked to bring into whatever change. Sometimes that's not the reality. So Discover really walks us through what is the reality. In organizational change management, we call that the current state. So company would come in and we say, what is the current state of the organization? What's their financial state? What's the temperature on the ground? How prepared are they for this change? Right. And so these are all the things, or when a change that you didn't plan in an organization happens, how prepared is the company to deal with it? Now, what are we going to do because this change has happened? And then we still have to look at the current climate and determine how to move forward. And again, as individuals, we don't do that. So that is the first part. That is the foundation of everything. How do you move if you don't know what you're moving toward? How do you move if you don't know what you're moving from? And that's what Discover really helps us uncover. Own now is the next step, which is take radical responsibility for your mindset, your choices, and the role you play in your current reality. This is huge. As we know, our mind is very strong and determines how we move about our actions, and really supports our energy. Our mind is so strong. And so if we, again, have not made a conscious decision as to how we are going to engage with the change, then we find ourselves scattered. We find ourselves having an extremely difficult time trying to wrap our mind around the change. And so ownership is identifying what's in your control and how you're going to choose to move forward in light of the change. So again, those are the planning stages, and then we go into implement. So turn clarity into bold, aligned action, one intentional step at a time. So this is where we start to move. We start to see the movement, right? And the key is one intentional step at a time, not a huge step. And, in movies, there's this big, like, oh my gosh, like you have to move from A to Z. And then all of a sudden we're in this amazing transformation. And that's really unrealistic, right? And oftentimes we hesitate because we think the step has to be huge, and it doesn't have to be. Just again, once we start taking small steps, and sometimes missteps, which are fine, but they're still steps. Then we start to see the momentum pick up and things become clearer. So clarity doesn't come from planning, it actually comes from doing. And then we get into transform. So transform is embodying the new version of you and anchoring your shift with habits, identity, and vision. And so this is where transformation, it's pretty cool. And like I said, in the movies, it's like, oh my gosh, you're standing in the rain. And it's like, oh, I am transformed. I'm this wonderful human being who's now, on whatever side of that change it is. But realistically, that's not how it happens. Oftentimes, transformation comes in quiet moments, or just in a moment you're like, oh, wow, I made that decision and I didn't even think twice about it. And so you start to see that your habits are now aligning with your identity and your vision. And then you can recall on that and say, wow, last year at this time, I would not have done this, but now I am. And that's how you start to see your identity come through. So that is a Do It Change method. And this is why it works, because it can be applied almost any situation. Like I said, there are 3 types of change that you choose. I'm going to change careers. That's your choice, right? Or I'm going to move to a different state. That's your choice. There's change that happens to you, right? So change that we don't choose. And so the reverse of I am going to actually change jobs to I was laid off, right? So now these are things that we have to adjust and react to. And then there are life-altering changes, and those are the ones that really shift every single part of your core and your identity. So, loss of a loved one. What else is a major one? I mean, losing your house, right? And a fire, something along those lines. So something that really impacts every single aspect of your life that requires you now to shift. And so this can be applied in any one of those because it's a way of personal leadership. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see, right? Emotional awareness and professional alignment. So I encourage you to think about, as you're going through these exercises, it may be necessary for you to separate your personal from your professional. For some people, that's beneficial because they see them as two different. But then, of course, you can look at the overlaps of how those come in together, right? So I know I've said a lot. I'm going to open it up. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Again, please feel free to raise your hand, or you can type in the chat if you have any questions. No, man, we have a quiet group. I can't imagine everybody's tired. That can't be it at 7 p.m., right? We're excited about 2026 and what we're going to uncover today. So, all right, let's keep going. I'm going to move on to the next. And now we're going to get into the activities. So this is going to require, as I said, dig deep, think hard, and please go ahead and fill out your workbook. We're going to go ahead and post it in the chat again to make sure that everybody has access to the workbook. And let's go ahead and get started. So discover, as I expressed, is seeing your year without distortion through hindsight, bias, pressure, or avoidance. Hindsight rewrites it, right? So when we're looking at things, of course, we're looking through a different lens. We're looking through the lens that says, oh, now that I'm here, I'm on the other side, I'm looking back and I could have done this differently. I could have handled it that way, et cetera, et cetera. That's hindsight, right? So we're rewriting what happened. Bias filters it. Oh, I really would have liked to this way, and therefore we're using that lens to filter the way that we're looking at what transpired. Pressure distorts it. This is pressure free, right? In order for you to really dig deep, you have to remove the pressure, you have to remove the shame, the guilt of any decisions that you may have made or didn't make, or things just didn't go the way that you would have liked. It's not about that. It's about, again, being honest with the reality of what transpired. And avoidance skips over it. So I'm an avoidance queen, avoidance champion. That's how I deal with a lot is, you know what, I don't even have time to deal with it. Keep it moving. Don't take time to process. And so I do instead of actually stopping and just avoiding. So I encourage you not to do that. That's my lane. Of course, we all have our own lane, but that one is definitely mine. And so let's go ahead to the first activity. Guided activity 1, these are moments that matter. So again, go ahead and get out your workbook or writing anything, any way you would like to do this. And what you're going to do is look at, again, we're going to look at the top 5 to 7 defining moments of 2025. And how are we going to do that? We're not just going to look at top of mind, oh, I changed jobs or I did this, I did. So take a step back. You can look through whichever lens, emotional peaks and drops. Where were your highs and lows this year? What was happening around them? So this question resonates with some. Next question, interruptions and initiation. What actually interrupted you this year? What initiated something new? So again, that could be a new feeling, that could be a new mindset. Again, this question, it's a different frame of mind and resonates. So again, it all depends on whichever resonates with you. And then identity shifts. What moment made you question yourself? And what moment made you see yourself differently? And I encourage you to absolutely go through all of these outside of the session. The workbook, obviously you have the link, it's yours to keep. But for the purpose of this, if you can go ahead and pick one, we're going to have 5 minutes because this is the foundation of the work that we're doing. So go ahead and take 5 minutes so that you can go ahead and think through these 5 to 7 moments because we're taking that into activity 2. Any questions about that? No? All right, let's go. It's 7:21. We're going to come back at 7:26. All right, perfect. So we have completed activity 1, and now we are going into activity 2. So keep in mind those 5 to 7 moments that defined your 2025. And now what we're going to do is look at how did these moments impact you emotionally, mentally, financially, and relationally. And so a question was posed about emotionally versus mentally. So emotionally is really how you felt about it. how you were feeling in those moments, around those moments, right? Whereas mentally it was, what was your mindset in those moments? And again, around those moments. And so we're going to give some examples here. So I was laid off. Emotionally, I was numb, didn't really have much of a reaction. Mentally, I was trying to map my mind around what my next step would be. So it's just like, just spinning and just trying to figure it out. Financially, I knew it was going to be hard. You know, I'm single, I'm on my own, and I don't have anyone to turn to. And so financially, I was like, this is going to be a rough one. And relationally, so I felt lonely. So as it related to me emotionally, I was fine. Okay, great, right? But relationally, I didn't have anyone to turn to. And that was a challenge for me, right? So that's the impact in that example. And then I started eating healthier. This is another example, right? I felt better about myself and more balanced. And so I was feeling good. I was feeling confident. Mentally, I had more clarity and fewer sluggish days, right? So in mind, I could actually focus. Financially, I saved money because I wasn't eating out all the time. So I was actually cooking my meals. And relationally, I had more energy. I was able to show up better with people. I wasn't snapping at work, for example, or with my significant other. We've had a lot more pleasant moments as opposed to, again, snapping at them. And so those are just some examples of how this activity works. So now we're going to take another 5 minutes because you're going to walk through each of your moments and look at how it affected you and impacted you in these 4 ways. Okay. Again, any questions at all for anyone? No? Okay. We're going to keep going. So it is 7:28. We're going to come back at 7:33. So 5 more minutes for this one. So let's touch back on this really quickly. So when we take the time to think through these different phases or these different areas of the change and the impact that it had on us, we start to see things through a different lens, right? And again, because time is so fast, right? Whether it's family, whether it's your job, just the time in the day doesn't seem like enough. And so we don't really take the time to do this and to look at it from, again, this very holistic view. And for myself, what I uncovered this year, again, there were lots of changes this year for me, but even on this journey of starting this space, I didn't really know how I felt about it. And like I said, avoidance is something that I do really well. So not that I should do well, but I do it well. And so I skipped half of this. And like I said, I'm an executor. So I don't really do the plan. Emotion, like, I don't have time to tap into my emotions. My mentality is always very positive. Of course, anybody who knows me, I'm always like, oh, life's great. It's wonderful. Keep pushing. Everything's great. Financially, of course, it's been tough, right? Having been laid off and then coming into this space. Yeah, it was tough. So that was one of the things that I couldn't avoid. It was just in my face, right? And relationally, of course, with Kyle, I was joking about how he was stalking you guys to sign up for the support in this. But really what it was, again, that support. And so having him was super helpful going through this space. And so I kind of tapped into some of these, but I didn't fully do it until I started really building out this methodology. And that's when things just became very apparent to me and very bright in my face, couldn't deny it. And again, I started even emotionally, I was like, initially I was numb. So that first line was mine. But then once I started walking through this, I realized I actually am pretty hesitant and kind of scared because I'm like, I don't know this space very well. And so if you don't have the time now, of course, we're moving kind of quickly. We only have an hour and a half and we're going to get you guys completed on time. Please go back and start to think through these a little bit more so that you can get a full understanding, again, what these moments meant for you. And you can use them as lessons learned moving forward, right? So we're going to go into the next activity, but I felt really compelled to kind of tap into that a little bit. So let's go to activity 3 because it lends us to what I discovered about myself. And again, this is huge, right? I want you to finish these statements and take a few minutes to think about it. This year taught me that I am. This year revealed that I need. This year showed me I'm stronger than. This year showed me I am weaker in. And this year showed me I am more resilient too. So think about those, think about these moments, ponder that for a minute. Again, we're going to give a little bit more time on this because these comments, completed statements are going to really inform the next space. So we are going to give 7 minutes. If my math is correct, that's 7:43, and then we will be back shortly. So go ahead, get these ready, and we're going to go into the next phase. Right after this is own. So you're going to have to own these statements, right? So we're going to start now. Right. So we are wrapping up that activity, and we are now going to, as I just expressed, go into ownership, right? So own your 2026. So now we've had the opportunity to look at 2025, identify those key moments, identify how they made us feel, how we thought about them, what they did to us financially, and to our relationships. And then we identified some statements that helped us summarize all of that, right? And really kind of dig deep into overall how 2025 looked for us. Now we're going to take those insights and go into own. And so that way we can now start to shape our 2026 mindset and vision moving forward. So I'm going to hand it over to Arnetta on this one, because she's going to take us through the own phase. And so here she is.
All right, thank you, Janine. Give me just a second. I'm going to share my screen so that I can address these slides with you all. Okay, if I can get a thumbs up in the chat if you can see my screen. All right, thank you. So give me 1 second. I'm going to put this in presenter view so you guys can see everything clearly. All right. So for own, this is the part where you're going to own the last year and the upcoming year. So what does the own part mean? It means choosing your posture on purpose, like deciding how you're going to go into the next year and deciding how you really came through the last year. So this is not through reaction, habit, assumption, or perfection, because no one's perfect, but we can definitely have a perfect plan. So we're not, this reaction rushes you, habit repeats old patterns, assumption limits your options, and perfection delays your progress and it slows your momentum, because if you wait for things to be perfect, it's just not going to happen, right? And we know that, but we do it anyway. So before you can choose how you want to show up for 2026, you have to kind of reflect on how 2025 went. You need to understand how you actually showed up for it. What happened? How did you deal with it? How did you move through it? And what did you take from 2025 that you can bring with you in 2026? So we're going to do another activity, and this activity is for the ownership and reflection. It's going to be activity number 4 in your workbooks. And just for an example here, we're going to, sorry, my mouse is touchy, apologies. All right, so for the example, what did I actually control this year? I got to tell you, didn't feel like I was in control of much this year, but I did make decisions. I had boundaries. I had reactions to events that happened in my life. I have habits and directions that I want to go into. So for me, I stopped answering work messages. Put a time limit, put some boundaries up around my work hours. Pause before responding instead of reacting immediately, because that can get me in trouble sometimes. I made time to walk or move my body even when I didn't feel like it. I've started walking 10,000 steps a day. I'm walking with intention and purpose to lose weight. So that's been working really well, and I feel much better. I shifted my focus towards goals that actually mattered to me, not the company goals, not everybody else's goals, my goals and what mattered to me. And then what controlled me more than I realized? Stress, fear, bad habits and patterns, my expectations, avoidance, and my pursuit for perfection. Definitely not good. So sometimes I rush decisions instead of taking time to think through them. avoid conversations because I didn't want conflict, operate on autopilot for weeks at a time, just like in a fog going through life. Making choices based on what people expected, not what I wanted. That's huge for a lot of us. And of course, putting off decisions until the last minute because I'm unsure, don't have clarity or direction, and then overthinking simple steps that slowed down my progress. So that's a good summation of how it could look for you, but we're going to take ownership and decide now how we want to show up. So we're going to allow 5 to 6 minutes for this activity, and we're going to start now. I have 7:48, so we'll give it until 7:54. Okay. I hope you guys were able to finish up that exercise. We're going to move into exercise 5, and I'm being told you guys can't see me, so give me 1 second to get that corrected. Okay. So now we're going to do guided activity number 5. And in this activity, you're going to own your, I'm so sorry, y'all. My mouse is so temperamental. It keeps, every time I touch it, it's changing my slide. Give me 1 second. Catch back up. So not to make you all dizzy, I'm going to catch back up and then I'll show the slide again. So we're moving into exercise 5. Right. And now you guys should be able to see exercise 5. Right. So on this one, we are going to decide what posture you're going to show up as. Posture isn't who you are, it's who you decide. It's how you decide to show up. So which posture did I lead with most in 2025? And which posture do I want to lead with in 2026? So let's talk about it. So do you want to be bold and allow yourself to want more and move forward unapologetically, like moi? Or do you want to be grounded and move with purpose, not chaos? I'll take a little of that too. And softened. I protect my peace instead of pushing past myself. This is one that a lot of us need to think about because we often push past ourselves for others, right? Especially if you have family members and things like that. You tend to put yourself at the back of the pack. So what are our, for exercise 5 activity, we're going to give you another 5 minutes to complete this activity, and then we'll move right into exercise 6. Okay, guys, we got another minute. And what we're going to do at this point, I'm going to add a little time to this because we are going to move right into guided activity number 6. And for guided activity number 6, you want to create your grounding statement by completing the following sentences. So I am entering 2026 as a person who. If you answer with the identity, I'm entering 2026 as a person who chooses progress over perfection. For behavior, this means I will start taking the next step, even if it's not perfect, and stop overthinking things that don't move me forward. And my posture this year is decisive, forward thinking, and intentional. So for me, after the year I had in 2025, I'm going to be some type of mix between Woman King and Michelle Obama. I think that's what I need in order to make it through 2026. So I'm going to take my lessons learned from 2025. I'm going to tighten up where I need to, change my goals and activities to align with my purpose and my passion, and I'm going to move forward from there. So I'm going to add a few more minutes now. Let's give this exercise until 8:06. And then when I return, when you return from guided activity number 6, you're going to speak with Monique, and she's going to explain how you can tie all of this into AI to help you create your plan and your identity and purpose for 2026.
All right, so we just finished guided activity 6. And so we're going to switch gears a little bit here and kind of tie everything here together. So we're going to switch gears into leveraging AI. And so some of you might be wondering, AI, why would you even think about utilizing AI, especially in exercises such as the discover and ownership, and especially when you're reflecting, especially for this year and then moving on or looking forward to 2026. So AI quite simply is a tool that helps you reflect more deeply. You'll be surprised when used properly. AI can really tie things together or even help you come up with even words or even situations or feelings that you might have and kind of tie it up into a bow. It actually helps with confusion, overwhelm, distraction, or overthinking. It's an amazing tool when it comes to even just brainstorming whatever ideas that pop up maybe while you're in the shower or on the subway to work or anything like that. But confusion makes your experiences hard to untangle. It overwhelm blurs what actually mattered, and distraction pulls you away from the real insight, right? And overthinking complicates moments that were simple. And so in this particular section, we're going to talk about how AI can help you overcome all of these things. But first things first, I would love to learn from you all. What is your current experience with AI? In fact, I am going to, give me just a moment here, pull up a poll and would love to know your thoughts on this. So for those of you all that are here, how familiar are you with using AI tools such as ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or whatever other tool? How familiar are you with those tools overall, or even just for self-reflection or professional insight? So I'm seeing that we have one person who's an expert. We have some occasional users in here, expert users. So this is kind of between those two, occasional and expert users. Oh, we have complete beginner in here. So that's good to know. And in fact, I'm going to end the poll so you guys can see the results. So as you can see here, we have occasional users who have used it a few times, which is great. We have one complete beginner, and then we have a couple of expert users. So we thank you for participating in that. And then I have one more question for you, another poll question. And with this one, what I would like to know is, what is your primary internal feelings or mindset in regards to AI? I know for some people, they don't even want to touch it, right? Some people are like really excited about it. Some people are kind of scared of it, right? I'm sure you guys have heard, AI could replace or is replacing so many jobs right now. So I would love to hear, what are your general thoughts about AI and especially using it in your personal or professional life? Some of you might be introduced to AI, it's kind of thrown on you or forced on you. So I would love to hear. So right now I see that quite a few of y'all have excitement and see possibility. A few of you guys are skeptics and have a lot of reservation. I can totally understand that. A lot of you all have curiosity and potential. I will be frank with you guys. Initially, when it came to AI, I was so dismissive of it, so dismissive of it. And you guys are going to hear in a little bit as to what helped me to get on board with it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll and share the results with you all. So as you can see here, quite a few you guys that are here are excited about it and wondering what the possibilities could come out of it. Some of you, one person is curious and sees the potential. And then a couple of you all have skepticism and reservation. And if you don't mind, because we want to make this interactive, you could just let me know in the chat based on what you chose, or if you didn't have a chance to participate in the poll, like your reasoning. What about AI is making you feel this way? We would love to hear and see, well, more specifically, see in the chat what makes you feel these certain feelings that we have listed, or maybe it's not something listed here and you want to expound upon. So we greatly appreciate that. So with that said, let's kind of bring this all together, because I'm sure, again, you guys are wondering, how is AI going to help me with this? So in the beginning, if you guys can recall, because time has gone by so fast, right? Janine guided you guys through her first exercise, which was moments that matter. So you were asked to input 5 to 7 key moments, or write down 5 to 7 key moments in regards to emotional peaks and drops and initiations from 2025. And so what we're going to ask you to do is, we're going to use AI to bridge what you did in activity 1 and create what you call a thematic year analysis. All right. And this is an opportunity for us to just come up with this goal. And this simple goal is finding the main message of the year, right? So we're going to take what those 5 to 7 keywords so if you refer back to your workbook and look at that, or whatever you're writing notes on, refer back to that very first guided activity. And normally we would ask for a volunteer, but for the sake of time, we're not going to do that. But if you're able to follow along with us, this would be great. But open up your favorite AI tool, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Claude, whether it's Gemini. In fact, for me, I think ChatGPT and Gemini are both really great tools to get started with, especially for beginners. Claude can be a little bit more advanced, but just to let you guys know my story with AI real quick, I started off with ChatGPT. Then I moved on to Claude. And then because of the recent announcements from Google has caught up, and if anything has surpassed, it's like an ongoing war that's going on right now. Gemini 3 is a really, really amazing tool. So once you get your 5 to 7 moments, if you want to type it out or write it out, that really matter to you in the 2025, again, your highs, your lows, or your big changes, the next thing you want to do is we want to put those in whatever tool that you have open, or that you will open once you review this. And then you want to put a prompt below it. And this is the prompt. All right. Here are my most important moments from 2025. Please analyze them and then tell me the 3 biggest themes or lessons that connect these experiences. And once you do that, AI is going to provide. Oh, and sorry. And then Janine is also putting this prompt in the chat, you guys. So, and of course, we're going to send this replay to you all. But for the sake of this and the time that we have, this is a prompt that we suggest that you use. And what happens is AI will provide you with 3 things. And what this is going to show you is the story your year was telling. And it gives you a sharper understanding of what the year looks like. Okay. Because overall, the year has gone by so fast. I can't believe we're at the end of 2025 already, right? I just had my first child last year, and I'm still like, what? I'm still catching up. So, we're at the end of 2025. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to help you gain clarity on the big picture, which you may have missed due to confusion, overwhelm, or just you have a lot of things going on. So we highly suggest that you do that. Now, next, we're going to move on to the next activity. The next activity Janine had us do was moments that matter. So this was all about emotional labeling and root cause. Okay, so this is the opportunity where we wanted you as participants to describe a negative reaction to a 2025 interruption. And we're going to use AI as a tool to help label the underlying emotional trigger or mindset belief. This ties directly to understanding what we call your emotional truth. Okay. And so what this is going to do is going to help us create what you call an internal impact map. And basically, how did these moments impact you emotionally? All right. And our main goal here is to figure out what feelings and mindsets were hiding under our reactions. So again, go back and refer to your workbook for guided activity number 2. You want to describe a moment where you felt bad after a setback, focusing on your emotional and mental responses. So a prime example would be, say you're working for a team and something along the lines of, when my team ignored my idea, I felt extreme frustration and then convinced myself that I'm not creative enough or that I'm not good enough, right? So describe that reaction as to whether when you felt bad after a setback, anything of that sort. And then we would love for you to put this prompt in. Based on that description, what are the core emotions I experienced? And what mindset belief about myself is this reaction based on? The reason why we want to do this is, again, we want you to name your truth, right? And the insight here is that you now have a clear label for your emotional truth, which supports the own phrase that Janine, well, actually Arnetta focused on, where response becomes a choice. And this is very helpful in untangling experiences that might otherwise be hard to manage due to confusion. All right, so that's that activity. The next activity Janine had us do, can you guys believe we had so many activities that we did, right? Was about what I discovered about myself. And in this regard, we're going to use AI to really tie down and help us recognize pattern recognition, right? So what is pattern recognition? Well, this is the opportunity of bringing awareness of the patterns that helped you and the ones that held you back. And the simple goal that we want to do here is to find the repeating behaviors in your life, right? I'm sure we all are guilty of, I don't know, for me, repeating behavior is I'm a huge procrastinator, guys, like really bad. I've gotten a whole lot better, and I guess motherhood has helped me to realize I can't be procrastinating like that anymore. So it helped me to really get my life together in that regard, but I'm still working on it, right? I'm not perfect. But based on this exercise that Janine had us do, first thing we want you to do is to list 3 examples of how you responded when things got challenging this year in 2025. So for instance, number 1, when I got a tough email, I avoided answering it for 3 days. Are any of you guys guilty of that? As Janine has expressed, and I, avoidance to the T. I'm avoiding to the T, right? But I might not wait 3 days, but just saying. Number 1, just as a scenario, I avoid answering an email, a tough email, for 3 days. Another one, number 2, would be when I felt overwhelmed by a deadline, I stayed up all night instead of asking for help. As I've said, I've confessed, I'm a procrastinator. I tend to stay up the night before and things like that and regret it. And then I'm like, why didn't I do this? Right? So anyway, that's another example. Example number 3, when I was criticized, I shut down and stopped talking. I'm guilty of that too. It's really hard for me to accept criticism, especially, criticism in general, but I've gotten a whole lot better, right? And so with that said, when you list those 3 instances, we would love for you to then put a prompt right below that of this: identify patterns in how I responded to challenges this year, and tell me the single most likely behavioral pattern. And I'm sure you are going to be surprised when you see this, okay? But what's going to happen once you see whatever revelation AI gives you, you now have an awareness of a consistent pattern that held you back, so you can now choose a different posture for 2026. Now, I think AI is really, really important here in this particular regard, because AI, when used properly, quite frankly, is unbiased. It's not emotional. So it's going to tell you point blank, right? And sometimes we need to hear that. We need to hear the tough love. Granted, it's coming from a machine or a computer, but sometimes we really need that. And so that's why I think this is very, very important here. Now, as part of the, I think, ownership, we talked about posture statement refinement. So I know that says pattern recognition here, so I apologize, but it's all about creating your grounding statement. And what we're going to use AI to do is, quite frankly, to do our posture statement refinement. And the whole goal here, is to make your chosen 2026 posture statement sound strong and decisive, right? So with that said, we want you all to refer back if you had an opportunity, and from here, even just when we're reviewing this, to write a rough draft of your 2026 posture, like choosing to be softened, right? There was one that softened, grounded. I forgot what the other one is, but I am entering 2026 as a person who tries to be softer, so I will try to be nicer to myself. And this is intended for identity and behavior. This is definitely a statement that I can relate to because I can be very hard on myself, very much so. And so by putting this input, the next thing we want to do is put in this prompt. Refine this statement to sound more decisive, forward-thinking, and anchored to the softened posture, ensuring the behavior is clear. Now, I just want to add a note here. If you didn't choose softened, choose the posture that you decided to use. So if it's grounded or the third one that was put up on this earlier, make sure to replace the softened posture to whatever it is that you have chosen. But what this does is it gives you a clear, strong statement that helps solidify the own phase by making your chosen posture intentional and not through reaction or habit. Okay. Again, AI is great at taking out the emotion of things so that we can move forward, right, and do better. And then our last but not very least, Janine went through the whole Do It framework. She gave us a great overview. And for this evening, we did the D and the O. So as you all know, the D in Do It is discover. So what we mean by discover and why we're utilizing AI is that, being able to see your year without distortion and not through hindsight, bias, pressure, or avoidance, which we've tackled and talked about, right? And this will lead us to having what we call a de-biasing reflection. And the whole point of this is that we want to check if your reflection is fair and honest, or if you're being too hard on yourself. So we would encourage you all to write a biased thought first. So write a reflection about a failure that uses blame or self-criticism. Like, I knew I shouldn't have launched that product in May, or I am such a dummy for making that mistake, right? This shows hindsight rewrites the experience. But once you do that part and you put it in the AI tool, right below it, you want to give it this prompt. What kind of thinking, distortion bias am I showing here? And how can I rephrase this to focus on the facts and center in my reality instead of bias? And the answer that comes out is going to help reframe your reality. It's going to help you see how distortion affects your memory. And this teaches you to center in your reality and not the one you wish you had. All right. So those are all the prompts. I know Janine was diligent in putting them in the chat. So thank you so much, Janine, for that. There's just something I want to just quickly wrap up and tie day one in a bow, really. But day one was all about choosing a posture, and I'm a visual person. Let me know in the chat right now if you're a visual person too. I hate just dealing with numbers and graphics. It's so funny. I used to work on Wall Street, right? But hence why I don't anymore, because of the creative side of me. But I want you all, and we'll include this in the follow-up, but basically being able to write a visual prompt to give you kind of an abstract picture based on what we discussed here, right? So basically, you are going to choose your core word, you're going to describe your feeling, and then you're going to write this visual prompt that you see here on the screen. Okay, and what it's going to do, it's going to give you a image and it would be great for you all to ask yourself, does it match the internal feeling of your choice? And this visual can become a quick reminder of the intentional choice you made during the own phrase. Again, based on time, I didn't go through each of the steps, but we will give that to you after this workshop. thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm about to turn it over to Janine, but hopefully you all can see how AI is an amazing tool to help you figure things out, especially when it comes to reflection and not just, given to the propaganda that's being put out in the media about how awful it is. All right, so thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Monique. Can you guys hear me? Quick thumbs up. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Thank you. So we are 4 minutes early. So we are 2 for 2 today. Super happy about that. That we have now been able to complete on time. And we thank you for taking the evening to spend this time with us, to walk through everything and understand, again, the start of the Do It process. Now, it was very intentional to have the workshop over 2 days, Tuesday and skipping a day and Thursday. And that's because there is so much in here. And we know that it could be challenging in order to, take time to think through it. So we didn't want to rush the process. So we gave you a day in between. So now you can go into the workbook, work through the D&O phases if you didn't get to give a full reflection. Because when we step into Thursday, now we're in action time, right? So we're going to take everything that we've identified and uncovered, and we are going to now start mapping out. So all of this sounds great. It's wonderful. It's like, okay, I understand this about myself. AI helped me frame it in this way. Now what do I do with that? How do I ensure that when I go into 2026, I'm acting on these things and I will be able to actually see the benefits and get into that transformation state in 2026. So that's what is coming up for Thursday. So super excited. Thank you, Arnetta. Thank you, Monique. When we collaborated and the AI piece, mind blown, right? It really just kind of the cherry on the top of being able to uncover through our own reflection, but then seeing a different lens. I know we were laughing about, well, AI, it's a computer. But again, that is why it's unbiased, right? And it doesn't hurt as bad when it says, hey, this is the reality of your situation, as opposed to somebody that we know telling us, right? So put it in AI, go ahead and get that feedback. I think you will literally be mind blown. So we had our 12 o'clock session today and someone messaged me and said, I am absolutely flabbergasted. So that's been our buzzword all day. So we've been just using flabbergasted left and right. About what was uncovered in AI, right? When going through this entire exercise and putting it in there. So I think you will be flabbergasted as well. So we will see you on Thursday. Super excited. It is 8:29. I'm probably giving you 30 seconds of time back. And I look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday. So thank you so much. Have a great evening. Bye.